Hi, everyone. My name is Ophelie Jacobson with Campus Reform, and today I am joined by author Scott Powell, who is releasing a new book at the beginning of 2022 titled Rediscovering America: How the National Holidays Tell an Amazing Story About Who We Are. Today, Scott joins me to talk about this book and how it relates to different trends that we've seen on college campuses and what Americans can learn from his new book. So, Scott, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, I'm pleased to be with you. I'm a great admirer of Campus Reform.
So let's just dive right into the first question. Tell us a little bit about what readers can expect from this book.
Well, first of all, they can expect a very unusual history book because history traditionally history books tend to be long and boring. This book is a story and it's short. And what I sought to achieve was to tell the reader from the very beginning of the country, highlight what was important about the transitions that America made. You know, why is our country unique? You know, why is our country sought after by all immigrants? Why does everybody want to come to America? It's because of who we are and the ideas and the principles behind our country, which are being undermined. And that's one reason I wrote the book.
And talk to me a little bit more about why you wrote this book. What was your inspiration for Rediscovering America?
Well, it goes back a long time. I sort of came of age after the Vietnam War, and I was shaped by that culture. I was a critic of America, and I decided to drop out of college and travel around the world. I spent 2 years traveling. I visited over 40 countries, you know, backpacking around the world, if you will. And what I saw really changed my perspective about the world and America's place in the world. So I gained a much greater appreciation for what I had taken for granted. And that prompted me to study American history when I went back to college.
So here at Campus Reform, we talk a lot about revisionist history. We've done a lot of reporting about 1619 Project on college campuses. What is the danger in teaching revisionist history, especially at higher education institutions?
Well, revisionist history is not a new thing. It's a phenomenon that's been going on for some time. In fact, all of history has been affected by a fundamental principle, and that is that the victors of conflict write the history. The defeated, the people, if you will, and the defeated forces have no voice in the writing of history. So a lot of history is distorted by that. And a good example would be the Civil War. The victors, the Union forces, wrote the history of the Civil War. The voice of the South is largely unappreciated by historians, except those in the South. But the extreme revisionism that we're experiencing now really comes out of Marxism, and it comes out of a desire to really undermine the United States, take us down, if you will. So academic revisionism, we lived with that for a long time, and it tended to be critical of America. But now there's a direct assault on all of our institutions. And coming out of the 1619 Project, which has its roots in Marxism. The 1619 Project started from Marxist, and they're not even historians. They're media people, and the media is, most people in the media do not really understand economics, nor do they understand history. So that's the short story, that the 1619 Project cannot be trusted to be telling an honest narrative. So Rediscovering America, while it's not a polemic and it doesn't take on the 1619 Project directly, rather it tells a story about America, its strengths, some of its weaknesses, but overall, the reader walks away with this awakening that America is a remarkable country. There is no other country like the United States.
And I've read, excerpts from your book, and you talk a lot about holidays, everything from Christmas to Thanksgiving to Columbus Day. And on college campuses specifically, we've seen a lot of students try to cancel these holidays. So why do you think the woke agenda includes getting rid of these holidays in America? If we don't have these holidays in this country, what is America left with?
Well, it's left with very little. No civilization, no country, no nation can survive without some appreciation from where it came. We all stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. So if you undermine the holidays, the holidays basically represent the history of America. I mean, Columbus discovered North America. He opened the way. Columbus, by the way, never set foot on any territory of the United States, except perhaps Puerto Rico, which is now Puerto Rico. But each of the holidays, starting with Columbus, Thanksgiving, are telling installments about how the Western world and the United States was founded. And we are unique in that we are founded on ideas. When you think of other countries, you know, there have been, in the history of mankind, there have been countries of cultural achievement and virtue. What comes to mind are Athens of Pericles, Venice of the Medicis, England of Elizabeth and Shakespeare. This was high culture, virtuous countries, but none of those countries were founded as America was. The United States is the only country in the history of mankind that was founded on ideas and principles, which is very unique. And the ideas and principles of America, as we all know, are expressed in the Declaration of Independence, and then they were formalized in a constitution. And this has guided us. We are the longest, the oldest, and longest surviving constitutional republic in the history of mankind. That's quite remarkable. Do we want to transform our country? We're a country that gives everybody freedom, freedom to be themselves, freedom to pursue their dreams. I can't think of any other, I can't think of wanting to change that and have to conform to what other people want, to what the government wants. You know, we're a country of dynamism and individualism and tremendous creativity. We are blessed people.
And now switching gears a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about critical race theory, because obviously over the past year, we've seen it making headlines on major news networks. It's being pushed in higher education, even K through 12 education now. And your book kind of touches on critical race theory as well. What does your book say specifically about CRT?
I don't talk at any length about CRT because my book's not a polemic. It is a story of America. But it totally defeats critical race theory. So we have three holidays here. We have July 4th, the Declaration of Independence. We have President's Day and Abraham Lincoln. And then we have Martin Luther King Day. Martin Luther King set the standard and the vision for race relations. And what was that vision? It was expressed in his I Have a Dream speech, wherein he said he looked forward to the time when people would not be evaluated by the color of their skin, but rather the content of their character. Now, we know intuitively that that's the ideal, that's the standard. And that standard came into being more and more after Martin Luther King. There were plenty of civil rights laws passed, but it was really a change of the American attitude. We are a multicultural country. It's not just Black. We have people from all over the world that live here, and we need to be tolerant and appreciative of all people and their contributions. So we've made a lot of progress. Why would we want to, reverse that? Critical race theory is a new kind of racism. It is rooted in Marxism, and its goal is to undermine and create division in our country. You know, Americans have to wake up that their country is under assault. Our constitutional republic and everything we take for granted is under assault by external enemies and internal enemies. And their commonality is a Marxist perspective.
And we've talked a lot about that Marxist perspective on college campuses, it being pushed in courses by professors who advocate for Marxism and socialism in the classroom. But I also want to touch on something that we've been covering for a while now. It's this anti-American sentiment that we see, especially with the younger generation, the kids that are right now in college. What is the danger of raising an entire generation of Americans that is unappreciative of this country and everything that it has to offer?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that we will be defeated, that we will go down. because we live in a dog-eat-dog world. You know, we dealt with the Soviet Union and the Cold War, and fortunately that did not become a hot war, a war of missiles, exchange of a military confrontation. But we now have a rising power of China. And China has explicitly expressed and has shown by their action that they would like to displace the United States. And their military is growing. If you don't have people that believe in your country, how are you going to fight for that country? So unfortunately, this process has been going on for a long time. The public schools, you know, it's interesting, when government took over, when it created the Department of Education in 1977, if you look at the history of education, public school education began to decline, if you will, after the Department of Education was created. Public school education was more supportive, less critical of America prior to the Department of Education being created. But it's really become much more intense now. And in the old days, when you go back, you look back, Marxism and the criticism of America was largely a manifestation of higher education, but it has now really become part of the culture, and that's a serious problem.
And you mentioned, if you don't have patriotic individuals who are willing to fight for this country, how are we going to stand up on the global stage? So in your opinion, why is America worth fighting for?
Well, we don't have time to go into all the details, but as I said earlier, we're the only country in human history that was founded on ideals and principles that everybody can agree on. And what were those fundamental principles? It empowered the people. We created a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. For the people. The people should be in charge. So, but what we've seen happening is our Constitution has been undermined increasingly over the years, so that we really have a new kind of government where the government is not accountable to the people. We have an administrative state. We have an intelligence community that is not answerable to anybody. We have regulators in the administrative state that seek to weaken certain industries, replace those industries with other industries. We know that if we allow the market to work, and allow the creativity of the participants in the market to work, we're going to get the best solutions over time.
And moving on, how does your book reignite that patriotism that so many Americans are losing nowadays?
Well, it simply tells the true story of America. It's an incredible story. It's unbelievable. It draws on people that were willing to go against the crowd, think independently. It required courage. It required persistence. It required qualities that very few modern people have. But those, the early settlers that came were risk takers. They were adventurers. They sought something better. They had a vision for a better life. And those were the seeds of America. And our country's so unique. We are a big country. And so you had the process even through the 1800s of colonizing the West. If things didn't work out, if you were living in the eastern side of the country and things didn't work out and you wanted to seek new opportunity, you were free to do that. We still are, but America is a remarkable country in that regard, in that you don't have to worry if you've made mistakes and things didn't work out. There's always, we're the land of opportunity, perpetual opportunity. So really, there's no other country quite like the United States, and our government allows for correcting problems. If it works properly, it is of the people, by the people, and for the people. So when the people see a problem, they should push their congresspeople to fix those problems. Unfortunately, many people are detached from what's going on. So people need to get engaged with the ideas. When things are not going right, you don't vote for the same party. The founding fathers did not believe that everybody's going to follow all the details of foreign policy and domestic economic policy, but that they would have common sense. So when things were not going right, they would vote the party in power out of office and replace it with different legislators, different president, different. And so when things are going right, you can vote again for that party that's keeping the peace and keeping continuity and keeping the economy going well. And when it's not going well, you vote those people out. And you think critically. I mean, we all know the media is largely an instrument of government. We do not have a media that is giving us accurate information and news about what's going on. Propaganda, which we've always known it has existed, is now part of America. The media is not doing its job to report on news objectively and critically.
And last question for you today, where can our viewers buy the book and when will it be released?
Well, because of the current conditions that we're in with supply chain constraints, the book has been delayed a little bit. It is available now for pre-sale on Amazon. And I would suggest to all the viewers to buy the book now because it may well be sold out. You can order it. The list price is $28, but Amazon is a big discounter of books, and so the price on the book will probably be about $20 when it's shipped. You're not charged until it's shipped. So it's available right now on Amazon. You can just Google my name, Scott S. Powell, Rediscovering America. It'll come right up on your screen. So get the book before, I think when it's released in a couple of months, it may sell out. There have been a lot of pre-sale. There's a lot of buzz going on in this book. In fact, there's an animation producer in Hollywood that has read the whole manuscript and he wants to make an animation of it because he thinks it's a great tool for younger people, for kids. Public school kids can learn the history of America from the right perspective through this great story.